We're all good.
Hi, and welcome again to the Path to Profit podcast. I'm Brad Dobson. I can't even pronounce my own name. My lovely wife, Dr. Minette Riordan, and we're thrilled to...
You said my name right.
I did. We're thrilled to have our guest today, Linda Landers, which I got right this time. Welcome, Linda.
Hi. How are you?
We're super excited to have you. I can't believe it's episode 72, right? The year is flying by. I know this is one of the most fun things we do at the Path to Profit Academy is get the opportunity to interview amazing experts, some of them newer in business, some of them bringing years of experience like Linda is today. So I can't wait to really probe the depth of that knowledge and information that you're bringing. And I love the name of your company, Girl Power Marketing. And so I thought maybe we could just start with a little bit about your own journey as an entrepreneur and how you settled on Girl Power Marketing and why you're so passionate.
Okay, that's a tall order. I'm glad you like the name because I get both sides. I get love the name or I get, but I actually started after I got out of college. My first job was significant position was with Burson Marsteller, which, as you probably know, is one of the big international PR firms, part of the WPP group. And I was there for a few years. And while I was there, I met a few of the folks, 2 or 3 of the people that would go on to form Payne PR, where I was at for almost 20 years. I was a managing partner there. Payne PR was eventually sold and is now known as Citizen Relations, which is one of the biggies. It's global. But at the time, we were just a little scrappy little thing with just a handful of people and knocking on doors and really just a small Orange County, California PR firm. And we built it into a nationally recognized PR firm known for consumer work, creative work, one best managed, most creative, blah, 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 year after year. And I think we really hit it big when we were able to break into Procter & Gamble. We had United Airlines, we had Taco Bell, we've launched Gorditas and Chalupas, and we had the dog, the Gidget, the little Chihuahua, Hilton Hotels, we had all kinds, but with Procter & Gamble came not only this international brand, but it really got us steeped in the women's space. And that's where I found my passion. Nice. We started out with their Pert brand and did some testing on college markets. And I guess they liked us well enough that they gave us Ivory. So we did the search for the next Ivory baby.
Oh, wow. I remember that.
Gee, just a small account.
Just a small account.
Yeah, actually, I came up with Search for the Next Ivory Baby, and I thought they were going to accuse me of plagiarizing because they had done it before already. And they're like, I thought they would say, is that the best you got? But they loved it. So we did it, and we bookended that with a project where we donated 125 years worth of ivory advertising to the Smithsonian.
Wow.
And that was all wrapped around the launch of Ivory Body Wash, which was in the lavender scent. And we actually created ours and theirs first Tournament of Roses float for the Rose Parade.
Oh, wow.
So that was really fun, working on that and helping design it and getting it through the channels and everything that goes along with having a float in the Rose Parade. At the time, there weren't a lot of corporate sponsors, so we kind of broke into it. Nice. And then we eventually did another one for United Airlines for the Rose Parade. So we got to do quite a few of those.
I love it.
So after we got Ivory, then we got Old Spice, and then we got Pampers and Metamucil, and they continue on today with it. I know they've got Swiffer and Mr. Clean and just going big guns, but that is really working with Procter & Gamble is like getting your MBA in marketing to women. I mean, nobody does it better.
Nice.
So that's when finally we sold the company, and I left for a couple of reasons, one of which was that I was spending so much time in Cincinnati. Much as I loved working with P&G, I had a son, and I missed his first 2 birthdays, and I missed his first school play. And I thought, you know what, I just can't do that anymore. Yeah. So I decided I was going to take exactly what I was doing with the agency and replicate it with Girl Power Marketing.
Nice.
And Girl Power Marketing, the tagline was originally strategic marketing to the intelligent woman.
Yeah, that's not really as good.
Yeah, and so now I've revised that a little bit. can't even remember at the moment what the tagline is, but I brought it up today. Inspire. Yeah. So, yeah, I founded that and I thought, oh my gosh, I had been so involved in the women's space. I thought, oh, I'm late to the party. I'm going to be a Me Too agency, but the opposite turned out to be true. There weren't a lot of people. There were a handful. Ketchum had their 25 to 54 group. There were some really phenomenal women like Marty Barletta that were writing books and doing research on the topic, Bridget Brennan, Kelly Scalota, but not a lot. There were a couple in advertising, but when you come down to specialists in marketing women in the PR sector, there were just a handful. And I ended up finding out the hard way why. A lot of decisions about marketing to women were made by male decision makers because at the top of the heap were typically males. And the fear was that if you market to women, you're going to alienate men, which really is the complete opposite. Women have more requirements. They have more demands. So if you meet the needs of the women, you will typically exceed the needs of the men. So, I could go into a whole thing about how women's brains are wired differently and have 4 times more connectors. But the reality is, in order to be loyal, women require more. And there's also the misperception that women are brand loyal from the day they become an adult to the day they die, which also isn't true because 91% of women right now feel that marketers don't get them, don't understand them. And they're pissed off about it, quite frankly. Yeah. They feel like they're not spoken to correctly, respectfully, or, that a lot of marketers aren't taking the time to truly understand them. And when you think about, especially boomer women, boomer women are going to experience the largest transference of wealth over the next decade by inheriting from family, significant others, parents, and only 10% of all marketing dollars are spent on the boomer market itself. So then if you find out that down to women boomers, it becomes really annoying, but the stereotypes are ridiculous. They feel like, women are, they're going to stick with one brand through their lifespan. But if women feel like marketers are ignoring them or not being respectful, they're very willing to go with a brand that talks to them in the way that they like to be talked to. And also women, especially in that category, are purchasing not only for themselves and their families, but their caregivers. They're purchasing for their parents. 51% of small businesses are owned by women. They're purchasing for their businesses. And as their kids become college age, like I have a son that calls me and says, what laundry detergent do I buy?
Mine calls and said, will you send me some?
Oh, yeah. I haven't gotten that call yet.
Thank goodness for Amazon Prime.
So when I'll just interject here a question. So now that it's you with Girl Power Marketing and you're telling the executives that are purchasing your service, the things that you just told us, and you're bringing that passion. So here we are in 2017, almost 2018. Are you still getting a lot of the sort of good old boy from the C-level execs? You're still fighting that battle to a large extent, or is it different?
In some categories, if you stick to baby care and you stick to CPG or food, you're good. Because women are the gatekeepers of the family fridge, or typically travel. People get it that women do the predominantly do the research, if not the complete decision making. A lot of times, if she's part of a couple and they're planning a vacation, she will narrow it down to 3 options and then present the 3 options and they'll make a co-decision. Or women are still the ones in business that might be typically doing the research for a corporate offsite or something like that. But if you start getting in, automotive is crazy.
I was going to say.
But if you start getting into like insurance or stocks or computers, you're going to start getting some pushback. But in all of those categories, women buy more than men do.
Right.
Yeah. It's so funny. So I owned a parenting magazine in the Dallas, Texas area for 10 years. And so was very present to all of these conversations and the whole marketing to moms movement. I don't know if you're familiar with a woman named Maria Bailey, who's also—
Absolutely. BSM Media.
Yep. Yes. Done a lot of work in this industry as well. And I'll never forget feeling so affirmed when I read her first book. And this is at least a decade ago.
$1 Trillion Moms, I think.
$1 Trillion Moms, and reading that book and feeling so affirmed as a woman, a mom, and a business.
I'm not crazy.
Yeah, I'm not crazy. I do make all the decisions in my family, except maybe about cars. That one's pretty joint, right?
Yeah, right.
But just, for marketers today, so most of our clients are other creatives, maybe other agency owners, freelancers, as well as a lot of coaches and consultants. So we really spend a lot of time in the marketing space inside of small companies. What do you see the impact of this type of conversation being for them, right? I mean, how much do we need to be really paying attention to this?
The marketing to women space.
Mm-hmm.
I think just the general rules of how you market to women apply. I mean, don't buy into the typical stereotypes. Understand your market segment. With the women's space. A mom is not a mom is not a mom. She might be a mom to a newborn. She might be a single mom. She might be a mom of a college-age student. So you really need to understand the life stage, not so much the chronological age and how that's impacting. But understanding your market segment applies to small business owners and understanding who their audience is, not making prejudged decisions based on, no research or thought process at all.
Yeah, I mean, we can just say it flat out, Linda, right? Stop making shit up.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Don't take the easy route, Yeah. Listen to your market. Go out there, talk to them, listen to what they have to say, how they feel about a brand. What are they looking for? How do they like to be spoken to? It doesn't have to be women. It could be, any market segment.
So I'm curious, Sarah, you talked about doing your homework and doing your research.
Yeah.
And from that you went to, and of course, when I hear research, I think about, okay, I'm going to Google the crap out of this, or I'm going to, do that type of research. But then you went on to talk to them. And I'm interested in whether there is actually, searchable research out there, or whether the primary important thing is to actually go out there and talk to people.
What I found interesting is when I first got in the space with Girl Power, like right at the recession,
it's a great time.
There's a lot out there. People were writing books, people were doing studies, and then it's kind of fallen off the map. And I'm redoing a white paper I did, and to find any updated primary research is very difficult. So you really do need to talk to them. I was talking or speaking somewhere, and when you talk about talking to women, you kind of get this focus group mentality where you think about the 4 white walls and the 2-way mirror and the marketers behind it watching, and women get that and they know what you want to hear, and they, it's a little nerve-wracking, and they'll just tell you what you want to hear. But if you put them in a living room with 5 to 10 of their best friends around them that are going to call them out if they say something you want to hear, but it's totally not true, that's where you're going to dig in a little deeper. Mary Lou Quinlan wrote a book called Telling the Whole Truth, Not the Half Truth, or something to that effect. And it's really about women sometimes tell the half truth. Like they'll say, I don't smoke, when that's not the whole truth. That's a half truth. The whole truth would be, I don't smoke unless I'm drinking and out with my girlfriends. Or, there are, I can't think of another example at the moment. There are just so many where they'll give you a piece of it.
I don't work. I'm a stay-at-home mom. And yet
Exactly.
I take on odd jobs. I maybe work part-time. It was something I encountered a lot in North Texas, where women didn't talk about their part-time work, right? They were presenting as full-time moms, even though they all maybe were working in their spouse's office or doing odd jobs or picking up accounting work at tax season, right? Everybody had something going on, but it wasn't the cool thing.
Right. Yeah. So you have to figure out how to ferret out that whole truth and not live in, go with just the half truth.
Yeah.
Or your marketing is going to veer off in the wrong direction based on what they're telling you. So you really have to get to the core of what she means.
And this is such a fascinating conversation because recently inside our own business, and we market almost exclusively to women. I even had a guy reach out and email me the other day about a new program we're doing saying, is it okay for men to join? Right? You know, you market to women. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for asking. I love that you asked. But we've been
not meant to be an exclusion.
Yes. But we've been tracking our content marketing, right? And tracking our blog posts. What are they paying attention to? And we did a survey, and their activities on what they were unsubscribing to or clicking on in the blog content was not the same as what they said they wanted in the survey. Right. So it could be different people, right, in our population that actually took the survey as opposed to read the blog. There's part of that. But it was fascinating. It's like they think they need business help, but what they really want are all the soft skills, right? They want money mindset. They want the creativity.
Right.
They want the time management stuff. They really don't want to look at their numbers or learn about systems, you know? So it's fascinating, that whole concept of telling the truth, right?
Right. And just really knowing who your customer is and just doing as deep a dive as possible as you can so that you can speak to them in the way they want to be spoken to.
Yeah, and really, I think the only way to do that is to talk to them. So I really appreciate that you said that. And I love that idea of just having them in your living room. It's actually one of the sales tactics that we tell women. Is like the home party model works for a reason, right? And it actually,
they feed off of each other.
They feed off of each other, and it can and they're comfortable, right, in their own environment. And in that environment,
as opposed to being with total strangers in a room with 4 white walls.
Yes, or a big hotel room, ballroom, right, with no windows. And so I love everything that you're saying. And I'd love to hear a little bit about the two things, sort of the state of PR today, because you hear with the onset of digital marketing, I'm curious how PR has changed since you've been in that industry, and having been on, you know, the publishing side. I saw a lot of both sides of the PR conversation. And then also, how is that impacting content marketing and what you see that's really working or not working in content marketing today?
Oh dear. Okay. Traditional PR, I think, still lives. I think people think of it as totally unsexy and that it's old school. But I think some of the old tools still work. We did a project for Barnes & Noble. We did their holiday campaign last year, and I suggested a satellite media tour, which I don't know when the last time was I had done one. That was one of the most successful executions we did. I mean, we did 31 national interviews in different markets within like 2.5 hours. Could have never traveled the chief merchandising officer around. That, you know, it would have been a lot more expensive. It would have taken a lot more time. It would have been crazy. So we were able to get it all done like 4 blocks from their headquarters. So
that's awesome. Really, so we maybe just explain to people that don't know what a satellite marketing tour is, because that's it's brilliant, right? I've done that for radio, never for TV though. So maybe just explain what that means.
Yeah. A satellite media tour is where a company, you can do it in New York, you can do them in LA, you can do them in Atlanta, but there are companies that have, I guess, their satellite hookups, but you can pitch like different morning shows in different markets for your person to come on. And then what they do is they go into this studio, and you have a set up with your product, and they just, like, every 10 minutes or 8 minutes, I can't remember, they'll do, the person from the studio will talk to the person on camera. So you've got the spokesperson is in the satellite media tour production room with her set and product, or his, and then you've got the anchor from Milwaukee talking to them, and they'll do a 3 to 6 minute interview. They'll cut it. Sometimes they run live, sometimes they're taped, but you've got a call sheet list of every 10 minutes you've got a different one, and you just go boom, 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 and by you start at 8 o'clock, by noon you're done. You've done 30 different markets.
Yeah,
and sometimes they're online, sometimes they're radio, sometimes they're print or TV. You can get a wide variety of different outlets, and I still think it's a great way to do it. And get your message out quickly without having to get on the plane and run around to all the markets. I mean, there's definitely something to be said for being in studio, but when that's not viable, either from a budget perspective or just from a time perspective, this is a great alternative. And, people looked at me like I was nuts because it is pretty old school. You don't hear about a lot of them being done, but boy, it worked. So yeah, I think some of the traditional things, you still pitch. There's so few, the staffs of the publications, print publications, has been reduced down so much. It's very difficult to get, I think, print coverage, but they've got the online version, so you see a lot more of that. So I think media relations still works, and it still works well if you have a good story, and you have to have a really good story. And I think it all comes down to that, whether it's content marketing, digital media, or old school media. You have to have a good story, and you have to be able to tell a good story. I think whether you're talking about women who love to hear a good story, they love to be entertained, they love something that makes them an emotional connection, or any other market segment. If you don't have the story, you're going to have a hard time communicating your message or getting media, whether it's digital media or traditional media, interested in helping you tell the story. But I think content today is one of the best ways you can tell. I've gotten more involved in it, whether it's blogging, whether it's blogging to the point where your blog is syndicated, or whether it's pitching content to different outlets. It's a way, especially if you're using, understanding which keywords you can compete for. And if your goal is to get to the first page of Google, understanding how you can do that, and understanding your domain authority and then your competitors' domain authorities, and how you can use certain keywords to map yourself to getting to that first page of Google. I mean, there's kind of a scientific formula for it. And I've been working more and more in that space, and I'm watching it work. I mean, I'm getting calls all the time from actually small businesses that are finding me in the darndest places, but it's because of the content that I'm creating. So I think content works, even if it's just on your own blog. I mean, it's a reason for people to come back to your website. And as a small business owner, if you keep them coming back, that's going to help you in your overall marketing efforts. I mean, I don't think there's much worse than a static website. It's an online brochure. And I think a lot of people, you get a little pushback on getting involved in blogging or creating content because it's so time consuming. And it is exhausting sometimes, but it works. You're telling a good story. You're not only telling a good story about yourself, but you're showing people that you can tell a good story for them.
And one of the reasons I reached out to you is because you're clearly doing such a good job of that for yourself with your blog content, with your speaking. You are very findable online personally. You're Linda Landers as well as Girl Power Marketing. I found you on LinkedIn, right? But just that reminder that you're doing all this for yourself. Sure, you do it for your clients, but I loved it without even being prompted that this is one of the ways that you're getting clients is by creating your own consistent visibility and branding online through content marketing.
And for small business owners that do it themselves as opposed to hiring people to do it, it's affordable. It's cost effective for them. Yeah, it costs in terms of time, but it's not like an ad buy or any some of the other marketing executions where you have to pay, and when you're starting out a business or you have a small business and you have limited resources, it's an effective way to market yourself.
And I hear a lot of creatives complain that it does take up too much time, or they spend so much time in client delivery that they're not doing their own marketing. So how do you manage your time to get all this done?
I'm not sure I do. In my perfect world, it would be 20% admin. Marketing would be another small percentage, and the majority of it would be the work. And this is what happens, and why people sometimes get frustrated, I think, because when you start doing all this stuff, you get further and further away from the client work. Mm-hmm. And so then you start farming it out, and then it doesn't have your own voice. Or you spend a lot of time turning it into your own voice, or you just don't do it at all. So it is, I don't have the answer to that. I've got a son in college, so I'm not carpooling or helping with homework. I have a lot more time than I did before. I don't know if I would be able to do the level of content creation 8 years ago that I do now.
So much different. I love that. And it's beautiful because it ties back to the moms and the women in the stage we are in our life.
Yeah.
And we have one in college and one still in high school, and they still take a lot of time, right? And we work a lot, and we work together, which is helpful.
Right.
There's two of us. So do you have a team that supports you? Are you still wearing?
Yeah, actually, I work with, we're virtual, which I used to try to hide that. Well, when I first started, I had office space and nobody ever came to the office.
Us too.
And I thought,
We did that.
why am I doing that? It doesn't seem to make any sense to put the resources against an office that's I get to look at all day. Yeah. So, and also the talent that I use is all over the place. It's in San Francisco, they're in Chicago, they're in New York. I'm working with someone in Australia right now. I didn't want to restrict my team to being within the geographic area of being able to get to the office. But at first, I don't think people got it. They thought you're not a real business if you don't have four walls. So I kind of hit it. Now I don't, because so much of the industry is going in that direction. Clients seem to appreciate it, that they are saving on not having to be a part of the payment of the infrastructure. And I just, people that I really respect that are really well known in our industry are also virtual. So it's much more common now. And I'm also able to get the best talent because I'm not I'm not stuck with whoever is in Orange County, although there are great people in Orange County and we work together a lot. But it's nice to know that if you need a specialist and they happen to be in Toronto, Canada, you can use them and the client has no problem. So
yeah, and I love the shift in transparency around that. I know Brad in his own corporate career, couple of different times, got to work from home a little bit, but never a lot. And then the big shift when a manager had worked with telecommuters before. And so 5 years ago, we moved from Plano, Texas to Santa Barbara. And he finally had a manager that was like, go, be free, right? And just work from Santa Barbara.
I was happy as a clam.
And he was happy. So I love that you said that about it doesn't have to be four walls, and yet it's still a business, and it's clear that you take your business seriously, right?
We still have a conference room, and I have an office I can go to, love Regis, with their space, but
yeah.
We've figured it out. We've tried different ways of having it work, and when it all comes down to it, it's got to work for me and my team, and because then that's when we produce the best work.
So fun question for you, because we're super tech buffs. What are you guys using for internal communications? Have you moved to something like Slack? Or are you still really reliant on
Big on Slack? Yes, yeah. Big on Slack, but only pretty recently,
Yeah.
But I love Slack.
We do too.
I'm doing
literally sit 50 feet away from each other in two
and you Slack.
House and we Slack.
It's kind of pathetic, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's all right. We see lots of each other, so.
Yeah.
But it also takes away that need to be constantly in email, one, and two, I don't have to respond. Like learning that I don't have to respond instantly to his Slack messages. Like if I'm in the middle of something else, I just can turn it off. So it's a great repository. It's easier to find things. So I love that you're using Slack. Do you use Zoom with?
I was going to say I use Zoom. Can't remember the last time I Skyped, and anybody else I know. Sorry, Skype, but
yeah,
I love
the reception is so much better.
Right.
That a lot less issues with Zoom. And we love that you can record both audio and video, right? So it makes starting a podcast, which we did a year and a half or so ago.
Yeah, that part was easy.
So easy, right? So it's just, I think sometimes we get so caught up in what we think a business should look like that we maybe either think we're not business owners, or we don't give ourselves the freedom and creativity to build something that really is going to work for us.
I kind of went through this epiphany a year ago or so, maybe it was longer, and it was just kind of feel the fear and do it anyway. Do what feels right for you, If it works for you, ultimately it's going to be right for the business. And with technology the way it is, it's all going in that direction anyway. I think, what did I hear the statistic? 75% of all people in the workforce are going to be in the gig economy within the next 10 years or something.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Feel the fear and do it anyway. There's our quote for today. So we didn't even need to, I love it. It's one of my favorite quotes. Feel the fear and do it anyway. So what do you find as, taking really this ownership of CEO of your company as a woman CEO? What have been some of your biggest challenges that you've been able to overcome?
Oh, challenges. Trusting my instinct, always second guessing myself. I did that a lot for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, I just realized that no one knows better than me what's best for me.
Yeah.
So I decided that, because, originally it's like everybody tries to be a generalist agency, be all things to all people so that you have your chance at all the business. And then you realize like you're nothing to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So then I became real specialized, specifically in the marketing to women. And I've kind of gone back and forth. And finally I decided, just do what you'd love to do. We have accounts and projects where it's focused on men. My background includes Miller Brewing and Taco Bell, which are the hoo-foo eaters, heavy fast food users. And my gosh.
The hoo-foo eaters.
The hoo-foos. Yeah. It's the high school boys.
Nice.
And college boys.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But, I have no problem working on projects that target men, so it's not an either or for me. I just, I have a particular passion for the women's space. And when given the opportunity, I like to play there.
Nice. And so I'm curious why that passion?
Maybe it's because I am a woman and I understand it. Maybe it's because I have a personal passion for the women's boomer space, because I think that they're getting a raw deal. Mm-hmm. So I love talking about that as much as I can. I would really like to see that change in my lifetime sometime soon. I don't know, it's a gut, and maybe it's just because of all the cool things I got to do with Procter & Gamble and the other brands that I've worked with that have targeted women. Certainly P&G is not the only one. We've launched a Baby First TV, where we launched a cable program targeting infants 3 months to 2 years, and don't you think that was controversial? We've done all kinds of things. So I don't know. It's just a personal thing for me. It's a personal passion. I have to say that it probably comes down to the kinds of things I got to do working with Procter & Gamble that fed that.
Yeah.
It's neat to think that, I guess people think that the advertising world and the marketing world is, they might look down on it, but in fact, someone like yourself, changing the way companies market to women, for the better, and with the passion that you have, whether people see it or not, you are actually having a big impact on the world, perhaps more than a lot of other people, right?
Well, and also not just the brands that I get to work on that target women. I'm actually having a lot of fun working with, I get a lot of calls from women business owners that were either aged out of their position, or they, for whatever reason, left their corporate position because they wanted to be more creative. They wanted to start their own thing, and they're trying to figure out how to market their businesses. They're bootstrapping it. They want to do it on a much smaller scale. So when I can, I try to help them as much as I can, but I'm fascinated with that, and good for them. And
we're seeing a lot of that as well. Women in their late 50s, all the way to their early 70s, who are reinventing themselves, starting new careers, suddenly after the crash in '08, find that they have to keep working much longer than anticipated. Right?
Or that they have, my fear is that a lot of them have been aged out, which is really annoying, and I hate that. But good for them that they're figuring out how to make it work, and just going to follow their own passion. And
yeah, it's a fascinating segment in the marketplace that we could probably talk about all day. I could pick your brain all day long, but I think I want people that are listening to really understand that marketing and PR are alive and well in all of its traditional forms, as well as its contemporary digital content marketing.
Digital revolution, yes.
And everything works. People often ask us, where should we spend our marketing dollars? And I said, well, it depends, one, on where your people are. Right?
Yeah, who you're targeting.
And I had
work and play.
I had a young man in one of my communities, reach out and say, hey, I want to get on local TV. How do I do that? And I had to have a long conversation, say, it's not about you, dude. Right? It's like, how can you show up in service to their community and their viewers? And so the part you said,
and what is your story? And why do they care?
Mhm. Why should they care, right? So the part you said, I wrote that down about women want stories. I think we all want stories. I think men, brag
Yeah,
on
but
stories.
for some reason, it seems like marketers are afraid to be funny or humorous with women. I mean, the stories are always like tugging on your emotional heartstring. Women like to laugh. Women like to have fun too.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think they do. Yeah, I love that. So many great tips, and just, our congratulations to you on your ongoing success,
Thank
right?
you.
And making that transition from corporate to your own gig, acknowledging also that realization that you made family first and that didn't inhibit your success. It probably even supported it, right? That you put raising your child first and were still able to create this amazing career.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I certainly loved what I was doing with the agency. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but it just wasn't. I mean, I loved the client and I loved what I was doing, but I just couldn't make that work. So.
Yeah, totally get it. I totally get it. Linda, delightful to meet you. Thank you so
This was
much for
fun,
your
Linda.
time today.
Thank you. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, we appreciate all these great insights. I wrote down at the top of the sketch notes about that 91% of women feel marketers don't get them and they're pissed off about it.
It's the truth.
Perfect.
I love it. That's a great way to end the show. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm Minette. This is Brad with Linda Landers on the Path to Profit podcast, where we bring you tips, strategies, and insights from business owners on what's working in today's marketplace so that you can get on that path to profit and stay there. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.